Yeah. Run it back, nation. Run it back, nation. Sixers Nation. What is good? It is I, DJ Eastwood. Run it back, Philly. You know the drill, man. No frauds, no fanboys. Never had an intro. Somebody said the intro is the best part of the show. I have no idea what you're talking about. Somebody said new intro sounds different. Cammy OW was good. No idea what you're talking about. Visualize said fire intro. No, I don't. What are they talking about, bro? What are they talking about? What intro? Shout out to everybody for coming through, man. You know, I have the system for the season, I think, kind of down pat, where I do the post-game live shows and then I post like a regular shorter form version video during the day, and that's been what I'm doing. But on these off nights, man, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm a little bit bored, and I figured that I would use these off nights to kind of engage with the community a little bit more. You know what I mean? The post-game live podcast, I'm really giving all my thoughts and stuff and reading comments here or there, whatever. The videos, I read the comments when I can, but I figured like some of these off nights, you know, let's get a community chat kind of going on a little bit. So I figured that's what we would do. You know what I mean? So thanks for coming through. I figured we'd just grade the Sixers so far as a team. I guess we could do individual player grades. I didn't really think that far into it. I was just going to give my grade on the team so far and go through kind of the wins and losses and, you know, look at what we liked so far, what we didn't like, and talk about it that way. And I want you, if you want to come up on the show. You know what I'm saying? I'll post the link in the chat. I will pin it to the top of the chat. And the second part of this, probably like 20 minutes in, we'll pin the link to the top of the chat. And if you want to join in, you just click that link. All you need is a phone and preferably headphones. But I don't even think you really need headphones. I'm pretty sure StreamYard works pretty well. You just click the link and you just talk to your phone like you're FaceTiming somebody and you're on the show. There you go. You feel me? Happy holidays, Jason. Muggsy No Bogues, always in here, man. Shout out to you. My headphones were on backwards. Is that why it sounded different? Were you sipping a little something? You got an adult beverage over there or something, man? Yeah, shout out to everybody in here. Jason A-Team says, Maxey, definitely an all-star. Woo! Woo-wee! Don't let them Celtics fans hear that, man. They've been trying to downplay that, you know, so far this season. But, yeah, I mean, he's been, you know, obviously we overanalyze the team a lot. We overanalyze every single game. We overanalyze every single quarter. You know what I'm saying? If Maxey's even quiet for like a first quarter, people are in the playback stream like, what the hell happened to Tyrese? He's falling off. But in the grand scheme of things, man, when you really look at his overall stuff so far this season and what he was thrown into again and how he's just undeniable. He's just undeniable. It doesn't matter what you do with this dude. It doesn't matter what situation you throw him in. He just will come out successful. He just will. The Ben situation, then the Harden situation. And, you know, I did the video reacting to what he said on what Joel said on his podcast, but just the way that Maxey talked about his time here so far. And, you know, the Ben under Doc Rivers and then playing with Harden and then now being more of the on-ball leader, the leading point guard on the team. Just an amazing guy. You couldn't ask for more. And thank you, Daryl Morey, for drafting him. And thank you, Daryl Morey, for refusing to trade him for literally anybody so far in his career. So I'm going to give my grade on the team. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to look at some team stats and look at where we are. Okay. So far this season, these are pretty damn good numbers. You know what I mean? These are pretty damn good numbers for a team that nobody thought was going to be good. Don't forget that. Remember, Eastwood put out the video the beginning of this season, or it was a live stream, I don't remember. And I said, I don't know, guys. We were so down this offseason. We were so down with the Daryl Morey stuff and the signing 6 centers and not trading Tobias once again and whatever. The James Harden thing was still lingering. This was even before the James Harden trade. And I said, I don't know, guys. I feel like year 4 Tyrese Maxey, more motion in the offense, more creative offense under Nick Nurse. The addition of Kelly Oubre. I was like, I think the Sixers can be good. Maybe I'm tripping. And I remember somebody specifically saying, you're tripping. And they come out as hot as they came out. And then the Harden trade happened, and they added even more role players on top of that. Don't forget, how many games did we play before the Harden trade? They started out so hot, man. They were like 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, or not 5-0. They lost that first game to the Bucks by a point because Damian Lillard flopped 9 times from 3. But yeah, they just came out so hot, and then I would like to think Daryl said I'm trading Harden because Maxey's the guy, but rumor has it ownership pressured him to get it done. Whatever it was, it happened, and they added more role players. So the numbers so far on the season are great, considering the offseason, considering the situation that started the season, the diva fraud number 2, basically refusing to come back to the team and putting us in a handicap the whole off season. For them to come out in the first 22 games of the season, these numbers are great. You know what I mean? 7th in the NBA in field goal percentage, 8th in the NBA in 3-point percentage, 3rd in the NBA in total points scored, and my favorite stat of all, y'all have been following me for a little while. You know how annoyed I was over the past couple of years over how bad this team was in the intangibles, in the building blocks of the game of basketball, right? The defense, the perimeter defense, and the rebounding. Everything else comes after that. And they were just so bad for a long time because they just didn't have, first of all, conditioning, and they just didn't have the discipline. And Nurse uses the word conditioning and training a lot. Something he definitely focuses on. It's something he focused on in the offseason. That's why they flew to Colorado, to have that training camp in high altitude. And I like anytime he talks about a player coming back, he talks about training. He says, we're not bringing him back tomorrow. We're going to use the next couple of days as a training session, and then we'll bring it. He's very keen and very focused on players being physically conditioned enough to play. It might be why Jaden Springer, kind of lost his rotation minutes recently because he was sick, and then he was healthy, but maybe Nurse was like, hey, listen, man, get on the suicides for about a week, and then I'll put you back into rotation. Maybe that's what 7th, 8th, 3rd, and 9th. I like that a lot. I guess we could look at team stats. There's probably a lot of them in here, right? Okay, here we go. Points per game, 3rd. Assists per game, 12th. Rebounds per game, 9th. Turnovers per game, 7th. I'm sure that's like the lowest number is the better, right? Yeah, 12.5 turnovers per game, 7th in the NBA in controlling the ball and limiting turnovers, 7th in field goal percentage, 5th in assist to turnover ratio, 2nd in free throw percentage, 5th in blocks per game, 8th in 3-point percentage, and 4th in steals per game. They're literally top 10 besides assists per game in every category there is. There's not an overall glaring weakness. There's not an overall glaring weakness when it comes to this team. This should make people feel really good right here. The fact that there's not a standout stat that is, hindering the team like there just seemed to be the past couple of years. So that's fire. I'm straight up off the bat just going to give the team an A. I'm going to give the team an A. I'm not going A+ because I guess, you could always be better. You could be essentially, I guess, like in a perfect world, you could be undefeated. So I won't go A+, but I'm going to go A considering what was happening in the offseason, considering what we expected, I would say closer to the season, I thought they had the potential to be pretty good. But like middle of July-ish, we were like, dude, fuck this team. This sucks. The process got us nowhere. And then we start the season hot. Daryl trades James Harden, adds role players, adds draft picks. I mean, I gotta go A. I gotta go A. And really, until the Kelly Oubre injury and then the illnesses happened, we were rolling. You know what I mean? Then we had a little bit of a hang up. Played 6 games in 9 days. Got blown out by the Timberwolves. And everybody acted like we were trash again. And we just now started to get our squad back, right? We just now started to get our guys back. You get Oubre back. You get Batum back. He was dealing with his wife was sick or whatever, was going on with the family issue. And so he was out for those games. Don't forget that. Then an illness went through the whole squad, and like Maxey got sick and Joel got sick, and one by one, all these guys were out. So we're just now getting all of our guys back and healthy and conditioned and ready to play together. And last night you saw what happens when this team is fully healthy and everybody's well rested. A 45-point victory over the Washington Wizards. Yeah, it's the Washington Wizards, right? Of course it is. But what you're supposed to do, what a really good team is supposed to do, what a championship contending team is supposed to do against the Washington Wizards when they're fully healthy and well rested, is beat them by 45 points. So the Sixers are back, damn it. And I'm excited. Here, let's look at the wins and losses over the beginning of the season and just kind of go down here, talk about it. And then we'll just chill with the chat, and I'll post the link in there, and you guys can come up and hang out, and we'll have a little laid-back community roundtable type of session, all right? So there's the Milwaukee loss by 1. Don't forget, we definitely Embiid folded in the third or beginning of the fourth, I forget. Remember that? And he was playing iso ball. And after that loss, man, we went on a run. We beat the Raptors, the Blazers, the Raptors again, the Suns, the Wizards. We beat the Celtics. Don't forget that. Celtics fans. Don't forget that. Short-term memory. They still want to talk. Don't forget the beginning of the season. When we were healthy and rested, we beat the Boston Celtics fully healthy. Detroit, Indiana. We lost that second one to Indiana. I remember that. I think Halliburton had a 35-point, probably almost quadruple double. That's a pretty good team. And, it was a tough loss. Then we lose to the Celtics, and I think this is the game where they had players out, and we seem to always lose to the Boston Celtics when they have players out. Or was this the game where, I forget. Let me look at the stats here. I forget. I can't remember. Stat play-by-play team comparison. Tatum, Horford, Holiday. Oh yeah, they were playing without Jaylen Brown. Duh, they're better without Jaylen Brown, and they were playing without Porzingis, and we were playing without Embiid that game. Were we? What is going on here? No, we weren't. He's right there. Yeah, he got his ass kicked by Horford that game. So we were essentially healthy. We were without Kelly Oubre. That's when Kelly Oubre got hurt. And that was one of the first games without him. And they were playing without Jaylen Brown and without Kristaps Porzingis. And they beat us up a little bit. And they talked a bunch of trash. But honestly, I still have these, I still have this belief that they're kind of really, really good without Jaylen Brown. And Derek White gets the ball. Anytime Derek White gets the ball more, the Celtics are better. That's just what I think. Anyway, we lost that one to Boston. Then we beat Atlanta. We beat Brooklyn. Then this was the 6 games in 9 days right here, right? Like 12, 14, 15, 17, 19, 21. And the traveling back-to-back. F you, NBA. You couldn't just give us 3 days off right here. You had to fly us to Minnesota. We got smacked by the Minnesota Timberwolves there. We were down by like 25 at one point. 13-point loss isn't even realistic. Then we did bounce back a couple of days later and beat the Oklahoma City Thunder on a Saturday night, and then we smacked the Lakers. That was a great win. And then what happened? The Pelicans, Embiid was out. Everybody was sick. Nurse probably said, listen, these past 5 games right here, New Orleans, Boston, Washington, Atlanta, Washington. I, of course, probably have overreacted to the lineups and the player minutes and things like that. But Nick Nurse probably looked at this and said, all right, we're playing without Joel against the Pelicans. Time to experiment. And he goes with Marcus Morris at center. We gave up 197,000 points in the paint to Zion Williamson, and that game sucked. We lost to the Celtics again. That was without Embiid and Maxey. That was when everybody stepped up and went down to the wire. Moral victory. That game was a moral victory. I don't care what anybody says. Patrick Beverley, 26 points. That was a fun one. The Boston Zebras helped them out a little bit there at the end. Covington had a great game that game too. 18 off the bench, harassed Jason Tatum, got him kicked out of the game. And Jaylen Brown was allowed to elbow people in the head and punch people in the below the belt. And the foul was on the defense. So, we'll see you again, Boston, February. I think it's February 2nd. We got to wait a whole 2 months to face Boston again. But I can't wait for that. Then we beat the Wizards December 6th last week. And that was a bad defensive game. Pulled it out. That was a game where I said, they finally got their team back. I called it the rust game. Atlanta Hawks game, same situation. The perimeter defense wasn't great. Nurse was still messing with lineups, I think. And then last night, the Washington Wizards, we beat by 45. 45 points. Joe Schmo, I can't wait until we play the Clippers. Where are the Clippers at? Okay, so we finished these next couple of boring games here. We got 4 more that should be easy. Detroit twice. And when we played Detroit in the beginning of the season, it was a little bit of a struggle. They got obviously some young talent that can run up and down the floor. They are 2-21. I'm pretty sure they lost 19 games in a row. So that Wednesday and Friday, Detroit, NBC's probably going to have their lowest ratings of the season in these 4 games. Then we get the Charlotte Hornets, who are 7-14, the Chicago Bulls, who are 9-15. And then Wednesday, December 20th, I'm excited for, because we got to get our lick back on the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. They smacked us. They got to play us when we were on a traveling back-to-back, and I would love to be fully healthy and well-rested for that game and to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know if they're still first in the West or not. Are they? Are they still first in the West? I don't know, but I guess I could just look at the standings right here. NBA standings, West, playoffs. Yeah, Minnesota Timberwolves, 17-5, number 1. OKC still number 2. Dallas, Denver, Sacramento, Lakers. They're still the number 1 seed. It'd be nice to win that one. When do we play the Clippers? Let's look at it, man. We go down. Do we play the Clippers at all? March 24th, that's it? That's kind of lame. We don't get a Clippers game until March 24th. But either way, yeah, man, I give the team an A. I just think that this is I just feel so much better about this season than I thought I was going to. You know what I'm saying? Christmas Day game against Miami. That'll be a fun one. Play-by-play with JJ. I'm excited for the Christmas game. I know we can't think about the Birds right now, but just imagine we beat the Giants, and right after that, we beat the Heat. Well, they better beat the damn Giants. They have not looked good the past couple. They better beat the Giants. Random gamer, my dude. Randomly decided to look up the Anthony Melton stats. I knew bro's layup package was ass, but I didn't realize it was 39% from the field. not just from the field. Look up his like within 3 feet of the rim or something like that. There was a stat the first couple, maybe the first 2 weeks of the season, he was shooting 40. He was shooting like, I forget what it was, man. It was a good 3-point percentage, and he was shooting like 27% within 3 feet of the rim. So yeah, I mean, DeAnthony Melton can't do a layup. I don't know why, bro. I don't know why DeAnthony Melton can't do a layup. It'll never make sense to me. Well, maybe someday. Maybe someday. Wait, real quick, did you get a new face cam? What do you mean? You mean the camera I'm using? When's the last? Were you in the show last night that it kept freezing and I couldn't get a camera to come on? Eastwood #1 fan, but a bad accident has me now. Lano, man, shout out to you. Sorry to hear that. Positive thoughts your way. Hope you recover soon. And more importantly, Linnell, you're breathing. Always remember when something like that happens and you're still breathing. Could have been worse, my guy. But sorry to hear that, man. I hope you get well soon. Thanks for being a fan of the channel. Oh, no, I didn't get a new face cam. I researched what I was doing wrong and how to fix it. I was overloading the USBs on my PC, and basically the camera would work for a while, and then it would just freeze up because there was too much bandwidth going through the USBs and stuff like that. So I had to use an adapter, and it's whatever. I fixed it. I think. Don't jinx it. If it freezes right now, you jinxed it. What do we got here? Shrey, what do you think the Pistons haven't progressed like other teams? Magic, Pacers, Thunder, etc. The Magic, I haven't watched the Magic this year, but I remember last year they were good when they were healthy. Their whole roster was injured last year the couple of times that we played them. The Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton. You can have, I think that's the Pistons probably, I think that's probably the Pistons issue is, you don't have that guy that kind of connects all the dots. A lot of good role player kind of guys. Cade Cunningham's in his second season, third season. Hasn't taken like that leap yet, but they don't have a guy that connect the dots really. The Pacers made that trade for Halliburton, and Halliburton's just that dude that elevates everybody. Then you start looking at that whole roster and, Mathurin and Buddy Hield. And, I mean, there's just role players all over that roster. Even TJ McConnell's playing out of his mind for some reason. Guy never goes away. They don't have a Banchero or a Halliburton or a SGA. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, they don't have that guy to really take them somewhere. Anyway, what else was I saying? I forget. Yeah, I give the team an A so far, man. I'll paste the link in the chat right here. We'll pin it to the top. You can come up on the show. Oh, I can't hit the pin button. Well, the link is in the chat right there. I don't know if I can pin it. I don't know how to pin it. I can pin it on the YouTube side. Anyway, get it up there. There we go. There we go. I can see it. Pin message. There we go. The link is pinned up there on the top of the chat if you want to join the show and, say something, chop it up, hang out, have a conversation. I got a couple more topics. I got a couple more things I would like to cover. Nick Nurse, favorite to win Coach of the Year. Nick Nurse, favorite to win Coach of the Year. Take that, Glenn Rivers. DFJ Hoops, what's going on, man? Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, highest scoring. You jinxed it! And I really thought I fixed it, man. I really thought I fixed it. Oh, what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? Well, we're back. What are you going to do? The issue that I thought was the issue is, I guess, not the issue. So check that off the list. Anyway, play by play is banned, bro. He's banned. What were you saying here? C Block. C Block, what's good, man? Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, highest scoring duel in the NBA. No one's talking about that. Highest scoring duo in the NBA. Wow, that's yeah. We were talking about that in the beginning of the season, but yeah, the mainstream media is not talking about it. I saw ESPN talk about it earlier in the season. First couple games of the season. But yeah. That's pretty wild. The highest scoring duo in the NBA so far, 22 games into the season. And I just don't know why. I believed in Tyrese Maxey. I've believed in Tyrese Maxey for a while because seen him improve. In one offseason, we saw him improve his 3-point shooting. And another offseason, you see him improve his kind of array of shots and adds, mid ranges and step backs. And then third offseason, I had no doubt in my mind this kid's going to come right back and be better again. And he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. There's no reason to think that he won't. So, James Harden not wanting to come back could have been a blessing in disguise. It was a blessing in disguise, bro. Well, not even in disguise. It was a blessing. The guy was going nowhere. He wasn't going to get better. He wasn't going to get in better shape. He wasn't going to perform better in the playoffs next year, the year after. He didn't want to come back. We were like, good. Now we can move forward and give Tyrese Maxey the chance that he deserves. And look what happened. Ever since he had that 50-point game, everyone kind of expected him, I think, to, score 50 points every game. But he had the 50-pointer, and then, he kind of cooled off a little bit for a couple games. Let's look at it. Let's look at Tyrese's stats. Let's see. December 11th. Okay, November. Where are we at here? Game log. Can I get all the games? Where's all the games at? Regular season. Game log. Here we go. Is this points right here? Where's points? Probably on the far right side because everybody does their stats like that for some reason. No idea why. So I got to scroll all the way over here to see the points. Stupid. Milwaukee started out the season 31 points. Then the next game against the Toronto Raptors, 34. Next game against the Portland Trailblazers, 26. Then he had an 18, a 22, a 22, a 25, a 29 against Detroit. 29, what? 9 and 9? 29, 11 assists. Look at that game against Detroit, man. He had 29 and 11 assists. And then the next game against the Indiana Pacers, he had 50 on 20 for 32 and 5 assists. Then he had 27, 20, 19, 20. I said he cooled off a lot, but did he really? He had a 19-point game right here. Couple games later against who? Can't I scroll all the way over now? This thing's pissing me off, man. Oh, here we go. A couple of games later against Atlanta, Boston. What is this thing doing, bro? This is making me mad. There we go. 50-point game, 27-20, 19-point game. Then he has 25-30. Had a 16-point game right here. Damn it. It's the worst website to use for this. 16 was against Minnesota. Oh, yeah, that was the game we got smacked on the traveling back-to-back. Then he has 28, 31, 33, 26, 30, and 24. I mean, what a season so far for Tyrese Maxey, man. What a season so far for Tyrese Maxey. Wasn't a doubt in my mind, man. Wasn't a doubt in my mind. Speaking of players, Jason Joseph, what's going on, my man? Let me get you up here for a second real quick. Let's see what we can do here. I don't even have hold on.
Because like I wanted to ask you about Jaden Springer, man, because I feel like ever since Kelly Oubre Jr. has come back, I don't know, like I get that you have to like try to get like Oubre Jr. reps and like you gotta like get him out there more, and I get that, but I feel like with Robert Covington and Jaden Springer, like they weren't getting as many minutes, and that was kind of like annoying me. And I don't know. I feel like that Springer for his defense like deserves to have more playing time. But I wanted to get your thoughts about that. Like, am I just going crazy, or is that just me, or what?
No, and I'm just fixing all my audio levels now here at the same time. I think we're good there. No, I think I loved what Jaden Springer was doing to be well. The earlier, like the beginning ish of the season, he struggled a little bit offensively. But then he had a run of games where he looked like he was really contributing. You know, he had some nice takes to the basket. He had some games where he hit some threes. He was 2 for 3 in one game. He had like 11 points off the bench one of those games, and then I think he got sick, right? And he missed a couple of games with that, and then he just didn't really come back into the rotation right away. Anyway, Nurse played him last game a little bit,
Right.
but yeah, I thought he was gonna kind of slowly get into like a nice, 15 minutes off the bench because his defense, his defense in that first Celtics game, I think I remember him playing defense in that first Celtics game,
Yep.
maybe, but I definitely remember the first Atlanta Hawks game with him,
He
playing.
locked up Trey Young.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah, late in the game too, he locked up Trey Young, and if he can convince Nick Nurse, but if he can just kind of have an offensive game that is reliable, or just not a giant negative on the offensive side, his defense is massive, man. Absolutely
Yeah.
massive. We're gonna add RJ in here also, man. RJ, what's going on? Let me can't unmute your guest because they muted themselves. Oh, RJ, you're muted, my guy. Um, yeah, I would love to see more out of Springer, man. I would love to see him get some more time. What you think?
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I also feel like you kind of have to cut down Toby's minutes a little bit, and I would honestly like to see more of Daniel House Jr. in more spurts. I know that sometimes, like, I see him having these bow and arrow celebrations, like when he's knocking down threes and stuff like that, and like I live for it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that he can provide a spark off the bench too. I'm not saying like give him more minutes over like Robert Covington or those guys, but I feel like you have to kind of find ways to be creative, especially if Morey is, and I don't know why he would do this, but if he's going to hold on to Tobias Harris, I feel like if you're Nick Nurse, you kind of have to find ways to work around that. And I'm not saying that Daniel House is the answer to everything because, of course, he's not. But at this point, especially with the way Toby's playing, like he's just a liability. Seriously, like that's how it is right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, Daniel House definitely has games where you're like, wow, look at Daniel House. He's kind of a firecracker off the bench. I call him. You never know, when it's just gonna bang and do something crazy. Uh, but as far as athleticism, man, just that guy that can fly up and down the floor. Even last year under Doc Rivers, he wouldn't play him for what, like a couple of months, and then all of a sudden he would play Daniel House, and we're like, wait,
Correct.
does the guy still have something left, or is
Yeah.
it just Doc wasn't using him? And he was not last night. I think he hit 3 threes in that fourth quarter,
Yep.
in garbage time. For those of us that were still watching that game, up by 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love having players like that you can plug and play and just like a spark of energy. You don't know, test him out. If you're either going to get good Daniel House or really bad Daniel House. You know what I mean? So you throw him
Right.
on the floor to see what happens, and at least I think we have a coach now that's not afraid to do that.
I feel like we have the deepest team that I've seen like in the Joel Embiid era, and it's just actually so nice to be able to have wings that are on the floor that can not only like play really good defense but also just catch and shoot. Like I feel like that's what Joel has needed throughout his entire career, just snipers like left and right. Like you look at Giannis and like when they won the championship, they all were snipers. Like Chris Middleton was the perfect Robin because they had guys that could just catch and shoot threes, like Brook Lopez and all those other types of guys. And same thing with Denver. Like when I look at them last year winning the championship, like all those guys just had great roles and they were just catching and shooting, and that's what you needed for Joel Embiid throughout this entire era. And I'm finally happy that Daryl has kind of cleaned up the mess that he's created in a sense, because I feel like that's just what they've needed. And I'm happy that this team is where they are right now.
Yeah, Daryl.
It feels so weird to say.
DFJ, what's going on, man?
What's good, Eastwood? I was on mute the whole time, and I was just speaking. But yeah, glad to be on here, bro.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for popping up. Yeah, we're just chopping it up, talking about Daryl Morey walked into a mess. He walked into a mess, and he cleaned it up with the Al Horford stuff, and then he got a little ahead of himself and created some more messes for himself with the obsession with James Harden. The Tobias Harris thing, man, that was one of the things I put in my notes that I wanted to talk about on this show specifically. Because if you look at this first couple of games, we were talking about how Nick Nurse unlocked Tobias Harris. You know what I mean? And now he really reverted. Now he really reverted back to, I don't know what it is. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know what his problem is. But do you think he can get back there? Do you think he can get back to what he was doing at the beginning of the season, or were we all just being fooled by the system or something? I don't know.
I mean, me personally, I never thought he was that caliber of player anyway. I mean, I heard people saying that he was as good as Jimmy Butler or whatever, but I kept telling people that he's not that caliber of player. And we consistently see it over and over again with Joel Embiid, without him. I mean, that game against the Boston Celtics got me so pissed off because you had everything. I mean, Patrick Beverley gave you 20 points. Even Mo Bamba came off the bench, and he was making threes. He was getting offensive rebounds and getting putbacks and everything. And all you needed was your best player, or the second best or third best player, which was Tobias Harris, because Maxey and Embiid were out. And it's time for him to show up, and he does what Tobias does. He's just not that good enough. We just have to accept him for who he is.
I think it's worse though, because he looks like he's scared out there now. Like, it's not even just like not even willing to take the shots. Like, he literally looks like he's being so passive. And I'll be honest, like when I say it like this, he really does remind me of Ben Simmons in that sense. Like, it has gotten to such a low now. And, we always talked about how Ben was being so passive, especially like in the playoffs against Atlanta. And it makes me feel a little bit bad for him, like in that sense, because I feel like he's so lost out there.
Yeah, and especially the end of that Celtics game, like DFJ was saying, that Celtics game, man, he just looked so just like he couldn't. Like, okay, this is my time. I got to do this. This is where I have to step up, and he just kept fucking up. He just kept tripping over his own feet, dropping the ball, getting called for travels
and all that. Yeah.
And then, he gets in his own head. You can see it happening. Then he's in his own head, and he can't get out of it. It's tough. The Ben Simmons comparison there isn't too far-fetched, because you start to see him get in his own head. You start to see him fold on the court under the pressure, and it's like, damn, man, what's wrong with this guy?
So you think it's a confidence thing, or?
I think it's Tobias Harris trying to play a role that, especially when he was in that game without Embiid and Maxey, he's trying to play a role that's not him. He's just not good enough to play that role, and then he's trying to be this leader, and I just don't think he's a leader. But even with them now,
absolutely not.
Yeah, I guess the roster went up and down with the injuries and the illnesses and stuff, and maybe they'll get all the chemistry back and he'll fit into what he was doing in the beginning of the season. I hope so, because I don't think they're going to trade him. I just don't. I don't know. I want them to, but I just, for some reason, I have a bad feeling that it's just going to be Daryl's going to ask for like players and picks in return or something. He's going to try to call him an assassin scorer, try to sell him high.
There was a play last night, like where they called a foul on somebody, and he was like going to the rim, and I didn't even see the foul, and I thought he should have just made the layup or like whatever. And that was just like a little bit odd to me personally, because I just feel like that's just who he is sometimes. Like he just can't finish. I don't know what it is, but
he was right in front of the rim on that play.
Yeah, I forget like when it was, but like you remember like the play that I'm talking about.
There was one where he was right in front of the rim. Then there was another one later in the game where he was on the left side of the rim, and I was on the playback stream. I said that's the first shot in around the world.
Left, right? Yeah, yeah.
You're 1 foot from the rim on the left side.
Right.
He just goes like this and just misses it. How is that even possible, man?
Man, Tobias being Tobias, man. Airball layups and stuff. Come on.
Ugh, my gosh.
The thing is, like, he has been our only wing for a couple of years. And now it's like, wait a minute, we got like 2 or 3 guys that can plug and play, that can get on the floor and do the things that you need them to do. Like you said earlier, we're so deep right now, and there's so many players that should have been around Joel Embiid for all of these years. You know, these 3-and-D guys and these just guys that can fit in and connect the dots. And it's starting to look like, at least the past couple of games, that Tobias just kind of doesn't have a role right now.
I think that's so funny because, like, we can think about like the way that the roster was before, but like during one year, you had Toby, you had Al Horford, Josh Richardson, Ben Simmons, and Matisse Thybulle. Just like the perfect like scenario of a catastrophe of like what you didn't need around Joel Embiid.
Yeah,
Some of those rosters over the years were built horribly. It was really unbelievable when you look at it.
My gosh.
BFJ, you got a grade on the Sixers so far this season.
Yeah, I give him a B minus, and that's, I mean, Embiid has been great, Maxey's has been phenomenal, but I give them the B minus because of Tobias, because he hasn't stepped up to, because this team could have been way better in the standings. I think we're the 4th seed right now. Those games that we dropped against New Orleans and Boston, if we had picked those games up, we'd probably be in the 2nd, 3rd seed right now. So I'll give them a B minus. But they could still improve. I mean, the season's not over. We're only 24, 23 games into the season, so there's still room to improve. Still time to get better. So yeah, B minus.
Yeah, definitely dealt with injuries and illness, but I see what you're saying. In those games where we were playing with injury, if Tobias could have just given you a 25-point game or something, you know, you had a chance to win some of those games.
Right, absolutely.
Jason, what you got as far as a grade, man?
As far as a grade, I would say that with like it, you know, if you look at like the end of last year to like where they are right now, I would say that they have done like a complete 180.
Right.
And so I would give them an A minus. I feel like that you have to kind of take everything into consideration. Like you got rid of PJ Tucker, you got rid of James Harden. Like that's already addition, you know, by subtraction, and you got rid of Doc Rivers. Like all those things made the team better. And it's not even just getting Nick Nurse. Like it's the coaches that are around him right now. It's also like you know, the ascension of Tyrese Maxey, and then Kelly Oubre Jr. That signing was such a steal. I mean, it looks like it right now. And with the way that they are just all gelling, they got the Nick Batums of the world. They got a lot of wings now, and I just feel like that they have. Like, if you were to tell us last year, like at the very end of last year, that the Sixers would actually look this fluid, I probably would have just like laughed in your face because I would have never seen this coming.
Right.
Yeah, it turns out just the energy of James Harden was just a negative energy, man. It was nice. I was so happy. I was so happy to get him out here. And I lied to myself during the entire James Harden era, or I just tried to be excited about it. But all of his years in Houston, I used to talk shit. I used to be like, this guy's just, you know, he's just flopping all over the place. Anytime we played him, I got so annoyed. He would take a dribble down the lane, throw the ball into the rafters and scream, and they would give him a foul call. And that lasted for years. And then he comes to Philly, and I was like, damn, I got to watch this damn flopping, foul baiting, just, I hated it. I hated it so much. That's just
How do you think, like, if James Harden actually did stay and they still, like, fired Doc Rivers, like, which would have never happened because I think that James Harden did get Doc fired, you know, just by, like, losing in the second round. But if James Harden did stay and he was in the Nick Nurse system, I don't even know if it would look that good. Like, is that just me, or, like, do you believe that too?
I mean, I don't think it would have worked because Harden is not he doesn't really move well off the ball. Like, I never saw him work off the ball. Every time you saw Harden, he's always on the ball, dribbling, passing and, setting up plays. But this system right here, I mean, even though Maxey is the primary ball handler, he plays off the ball sometimes. I mean, we see people grab the ball and go. We see Kelly Oubre handling the rock. We see Tobias Harris handling the rock. And I can't imagine Harden moving off ball. It'll be nasty as hell.
Yeah, I remember training camp, and I remember just not like they kept saying, Daryl kept saying we're bringing Harden back. We want him to come back. This, that. I was so many shows and so many videos. I was like, how can he come back and play in Nick Nurse's system? It doesn't make any sense, and that's exactly why. He's not an off the ball player. He's not a catch and shoot guy. He plays James Harden's system, and then he goes to LA and he had this press conference where he's talking about the system and all that stuff. But then there was there was one later than that where he mentioned, like, I'm learning new things. I'm learning really to catch and shoot. And like, what, bro? You tried to learn that for 2 years in Philly, and now you're saying that you're learning something new. How and how
Brooklyn too?
And how is just catching a basketball and shooting it not part of playing basketball every day? I don't understand how you went your whole life and you don't just catch and shoot.
Yeah, he always got to take a dribble or two before he puts the shot.
Was he like that in OKC? Like, I feel like he wasn't. He wasn't like that.
I don't think it was.
He was. Yeah, he was catching and shooting. I mean, his first points in the NBA, it was a catch and shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a catch and shoot player in OKC. But when he got to Houston and D'Antoni became the coach, that's when that whole system thing. That's where it started from.
Yeah, and the late great Kobe Bryant said that's not winning basketball, and you're not going to win playing like that. And
right,
it sold a lot of tickets down in Houston, but
I was just going to say, like, I feel like that the facial expressions of everybody in that Clippers locker room, like when I saw that YouTube short when him and PJ Tucker were coming in, like Russ was the only one that literally just gave James Harden a hug. Everybody else was just so silent. And I just feel it put a big smile on my face.
I haven't been paying attention to the Clippers recently, and Harden looked terrible when he first got there, obviously, because he didn't do anything in the offseason. And then he blamed it on, I didn't have training camp. Like, you can't go work out by yourself. But, like, have you guys kept up with any Clippers games? Like, have they looked better? Has Harden looked better?
Yeah, I know
PJ
9-3, something like that. And they had a huge victory over the the Denver Nuggets, where Jokic was absolutely terrible, and Harden he played a solid game. So yeah, I'll give him that. They're looking decent right now, but I mean I don't think they're going to do anything.
It's just about the playoffs, man. Like I feel bad. I actually kind of feel sorry for Ty Lue, because I feel like that's a lot of egos to manage, and like when you look at Russ, like you look at PJ, you look at PG and you look at Kawhi, it's like everybody's sort of like the same type of player. Like they all need the ball. Like it's just such a weird mess, and I don't see it working. And also, like, no one's talking about this, but they're all on expiring contracts. So like if they don't get it done this year, they could all walk. So like what's Steve Ballmer doing?
Well, I was saying for a while that's the only reason that the Clippers were like one of the only teams that were interested in trading for James Harden. And I said that a couple times. I'm like, it makes perfect sense, because they're like, we can go all in, throw James Harden in there, try to win with these guys, and if it doesn't work, we can clean house. And that's the only reason it was really only them that would trade for James Harden on a player option, because if it doesn't work, you're not obligated to anything. I didn't know they were going to give up future first-round draft picks and role players, but we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll definitely take it. We would definitely take it.
I would expect him to do pretty much what he did with us. I would expect him to look good for a while, have a couple games where he looks, and then the media will go, James Harden's back. He's
the honeymoon stages.
Yeah, he's back to his elite self, and then he'll have some, week-long Vegas parties, and he'll start to look sluggish again. Probably. That's just what I would expect.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to the clubs now.
Oh, he sure is.
In LA, absolutely.
In LA, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably renting one of them. He's probably sleeping in there.
This dude.
All right, but before we get out of here, and thank you guys for joining me, man. This was cool, and I want to do this more often. And if you guys got me on Twitter, I'll hit you up beforehand, and we can just do a show right like this. What do you? Well, let's do team needs just right now, like before we get out of here. Jason, what do you think if you had to say like one or two things the team definitely needs, or do you feel like if they just keep this together right now that they're like a championship contender? You know what I mean?
I think that they're a contender now, but personally, I know that come playoff time, what's going to happen, and I love Patrick Beverley, and I think that Patrick Beverley does bring a lot to like the bench, but I know that when we play against Boston and when we play against these upper echelon types of teams, everybody's going to focus on Tyrese Maxey, and everybody's going to start focusing on Joel Embiid, and there needs to be that third guy that can step up. Can Kelly Oubre Jr. be that guy? I guess he could, but like that's like a really big if. So I would much rather get somebody like an Alex Caruso type of a player. I'm not saying Alex Caruso himself because I feel like that the Bulls are probably going to ask a lot for him, but somebody that can just take pressure off of Tyrese Maxey, that George Hill type of a player, where it's just like, all right, I can come in like 9 to 10 minutes, and if they need me to just like operate the ball and operate the offense, I can do that while Maxey's on the bench, or I could take pressure off of him and be like that guard combo. So that's what I would want. And then the other thing that I would say really quickly too is I feel like that this team needs another rebounder, especially when they're going up against a team like Boston and Milwaukee, guys that have a lot of length and guys that have a lot of athleticism.
Even Cleveland.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So if they could get a rebounder or maybe get somebody in the buyout market in that department, I think that would be a plus too.
Yeah, my dream, the type of players you were talking about, I just thought off the top of my head, the damn Boston Celtics always have a bunch of them, man. They even traded Malcolm Brogdon, and they still got Derek White and Peyton Pritchard when he comes in against us, man. Right. It's like, damn, this guy just... Yeah, they got those guards that can run a half-court offense, man. We could definitely use one or two more of them.
Right.
Sure. DFJ, what you think, man?
I agree with what Jason said. I mean, a rebounder would be great, and another secondary ball handler, because this Sixer team, I don't consider a championship contending team, because I think it's easy to game plan for the Sixers. If you neutralize Embiid and you blitz Maxey and force somebody else to beat you, it's kind of like it's over with for the Sixers. So, yeah, the secondary ball handler and a point of attack defender. Because when we played Cleveland, Darius Garland destroyed our first line defense. And
he did.
And kind of put Embiid in a tough situation where should I step up and kind of disrupt them or just stay back and give him the open shot. And that's a very, very difficult. That was a very difficult position for Embiid to be in. So he kept stepping up, and I mean they kept doing the alley-oop thing. So I think a point of attack defender and a secondary ball handler is what the Sixers need.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I was, like we were talking about earlier, the Jaden Springer thing. I was hoping he could, be that point of attack defender. Maybe a little too young yet. Alex Caruso would be perfect, but yeah, the Bulls are trying to sell him high. They're claiming that they're not interested in trading him. And actually, a tweet just came out that the Bulls are looking for win now players. Did you see that?
No, I see that.
And they're looking for win now players. What are you talking about, dude? You just had a whole roster of, quote unquote win now players, and it went terribly. Like, why won't they accept the fact that they need to rebuild? I don't understand what's going on in Chicago. They're probably going to keep Caruso, honestly.
I can see that too. Yeah,
that's just so mind-boggling to me. I don't get it. I really don't. I actually thought, like, in some ways that Kobe White actually looked like really, really good out there, like the last couple of games, and I feel like he has some stock too.
Melton is not a championship starting two guard. With him and Tobias on the team, we can only go so far. That's another thing that I talk about often is that DeAnthony Melton, I love him as a player, and he's just to me just a bench guy that you throw on the floor and hope to get a little bit of a scoring spark out of and some good defense. That probably is like one of the main things that stands out to me on this team is DeAnthony Melton at the shooting guard position because it is kind of odd. You don't really look at him as a starting NBA shooting guard at 6'2".
I can't believe I
6'3".
jinxed you.
Especially on a contending team. Like, nah, that's not a good look.
So they either do something at the trade deadline or they stay put until the offseason.
I mean, like, who would be available in the buyout market? Like, that's the other thing too that like we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Daryl might just be looking at cap space in the offseason and like, trying to maybe OG Anunoby as a free agent. But that's always the dilemma as a GM of this team with Joel Embiid. Do you want to wait and go again for the next season, or do you want to try to do something right now? So I guess we'll see what he does, man.
I was just gonna say, like, really quickly, like, I do have to give Joel a lot of credit for like sticking with the whole entire like franchise for this long. Like, he's been through a lot, man, and
Right.
I really feel like that he doesn't get enough flowers for just sticking with everything. He's been here for forever, like, and I feel like he definitely deserves his flowers for that because not all the turnovers like were all his fault. Like in the playoffs, like a couple of years ago, and even last year, like when James Harden's not stepping up, Embiid has to take over. When Ben Simmons is not handling the ball and he's scared to, drive it to the lane, Joel has to take the ball up more. So it's, like he's really had to adapt his game in so many different ways. And I feel like he definitely deserves his flowers just from that perspective. That doesn't diminish the fact that he did really bad in the playoffs last year. Like, I'm not letting him off the hook for that. But just in regards to just his game overall, he's done a much better job at passing out of the double teams. He's getting guys more involved. And he even said I think he said on Tyrese Maxey's podcast, the one thing that he wanted to work on more during this season was not trying to ISO as much. And I really appreciated him being honest about that. Because I thought that he was right. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's true because last season he was, I think 15% of his possessions were ISOs, but now it's down to 7%. So he's kind of cutting that a little bit.
Yeah, when it comes to him just sticking with the team, he's just a super humble dude, man. And Ken has said foreign players are great about wanting to stay with their starting teams. You can just see a big difference between players that came from somewhere where they were just kind of, accounted out, or an area or a country that didn't have, NBA players, or a lot of them coming out. And they, so he just got here and you can just tell he just appreciates being here and where he's at, versus some of these, spoon-fed number one overall pick. You're the greatest thing of all time from the time they were in high school and college, and then they get to the NBA and they fall flat on their face because they were just never told no their whole life. Joel's just a humble dude, to a fault too. A lot. He's not mean enough. He doesn't, 5 years of Ben not shooting the ball. He never said a word to him about it. And 2 weeks with Kyrie Irving, and he's yelling at him on the court. Yeah, Joel's just a humble dude, man. Giannis, same kind of guy. Giannis, just a humble dude. He's just happy to be here. He's not interested in LA or Miami or a spotlight or anything like that.
That Oreo story still gets to me.
I remember when Ben went to Brooklyn, and I was like, dude, watch what happens with Kyrie Irving. And 2 weeks in, you hear this guy on ESPN, shoot it! And then he requested a trade. He's like, I can't handle this. I'm out of here.
And KD was going at him too.
That's
I'm going to be ready for Game 8.
If Ben would have probably would have turned into a pretty damn good player if he would have somehow been drafted late in the first round to a contending team where he didn't have a guaranteed spot on the roster, and the Lakers or something, and I don't know if Kobe was still there at the time in 2015 or whatever. A team that had some veterans that would look at him as a rookie and say, you ain't shit. You're not going to even get on the court if you don't learn how to shoot a basketball or whatever. But yeah, just coming in as number one pick to a team that was tanking forever, got treated like royalty as soon as he got here, banners hanging outside the arena, and it was a recipe for disaster for a player like that. His ego just got bigger and bigger, and then he couldn't accept the fact that he needed to add something to his game, and he overall quit basically instead of facing the fire.
It's sad. It's sad in that perspective.
It really is, but he's he's living a good life, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, he's
Ben
cashing
Simmons.
checks. He's cashing his checks.
He's cashing big time checks. That's what makes him happy. And congratulations, man. I don't know what to say. Whatever. But hey,
I can't believe he shot 30% from the free throw line in the playoff series. I still can't believe that.
Was there ever going to be? That's the thing. You can't have a ball dominant player that can't shoot a free throw. That should have been something from the beginning too. How can you be a point guard if you can't shoot a free throw? People can just foul you, and then the game's over. It doesn't make any sense.
That's what the Hawks did. Yeah.
And then on top of that, we had the Doc Rivers blaming the media for everything. Like, you want me to take out an all-star point guard that's out there that's like one of our best players? Yes, Doc. Like, if he can't make his foul shots, like that's the name of the game.
Yeah. I remember when he said, you guys need to appreciate him more, and he does all the little things. And we're like, dude, he's not Draymond Green. Draymond is a second-round draft pick. That's the kind of player that does everything. That's when you celebrate a player being a great glue guy, not a number 1 overall pick who's supposed to change your franchise being a glue guy. You didn't draft a glue guy at number 1.
Yep.
Right.
Anyway, that's over. That's over, man. Thankfully. Maybe the Sixers are done having these unbelievable stories in their organization. There's going to be a 30 for 30 definitely on all of the things that have happened with Sixers draft picks.
Ugh, man. I can't wait till Embiid gets his first ring, because then, I would start that documentary then, for sure.
I think Joel playing bad in the playoffs this year has a lot to. I think when I said he's a humble dude and stuff, I think he does lack that killer. He has lacked that killer instinct throughout his career so far, and I think he's just kind of a nice guy, and he's so big and skilled and good at the game, but I don't think he's been pushed yet by. He hasn't been pushed by an NBA coach yet. He hasn't been pushed by anybody. It's still one of those things where it's like, this is good enough. You're amazing. You came to the NBA. You're one of the best scorers of all time, etc. He just needs to be pushed a little bit more. It's not good enough yet. And I think this year you're going to see a little bit of a different mindset from him.
Yeah, I was a little nervous last year, and I was actually really angry when I saw him dabbing up Jason Tatum at the very end of Game 7, and then when he comes out in the press conference and says that James and I can't do it alone, I got really, really annoyed by that. But with the way that he's playing now, I feel like I'm bought in again, to the whole thing. I can understand other people that are out there that are hesitant to believe in the Sixers, just because every single year it's that they lose in the second round. And I get that, but at the same time, I do feel that this team is different now, and Joel has actually accepted that he has to be humble, just like you said.
Yeah, I think you're going to get a coach. You have a coach now that's going to, have some creativity and adjust. And when you're getting, you would just see these 2 games in a playoff series go bad, and there would no adjustments. That's how he blew the leads the way that he did, right? Doc has the most blown 3-2 leads in playoff history, because he just didn't adjust. He just keep doing the same thing over and over. At least Nick Nurse, you've seen him adjust now. You've seen us get our ass kicked in the first half of a game. In the second half, they look different.
He's not folding his hands.
Right. Yeah. You're going to see a coach adjust and mix up lineups and everything based on the matchup and based on how the series is going. So I think you're going to see a different playoff team.
It's just so funny to just see Doc Rivers on TNT and on ESPN. I cannot wait until he calls a game where he's calling a game for the Sixers.
You know what's crazy? I say he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, he's not bad.
He's actually a pretty good commentator. And at the one game he was he said something about you can't win if you're a bad transition team. And I'm like, what? You have some of the worst transition defense teams ever, bro. You tell yourself that.
To be fair though, I do remember you saying too, at times last year, just from watching your pod, you said that in some ways he's saying the same things that we saw, but you're the coach of the team, that's your job.
Yeah, he was he would talk like a spectator. Yeah, he would get up there and be like, "Yeah, they just didn't have any energy tonight. They just came out flat.
We got out rebounded.
Yeah, I think we did this wrong. They did this wrong, but he never dude, you're in charge. You know that, right? Yeah." It was wild. Wild times, man. Wild times.
Man.
Anyway, thank you guys for joining me, man. This was fun. I want to try to do this, once in a while when we got some off nights and stuff. So, stay tuned. Everybody in the chat, thanks for being here. Thanks, Jason, for coming up here. Thanks, DFJ Hoops, for coming up here. Yeah, man, stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and anytime I do this, I'll announce it ahead of time, and you guys can join me.
Thanks so much for having us, DJ. Love the channel, and keep up the great content. Seriously, like, you do an awesome job.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah,
Of course.
just like you said.
All right, man. I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Sounds good. Peace out.